Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk about potential major characters returning in the 9th edition. Now we had a little Q&A session a couple of days ago by GW where they actually mentioned that some major characters will return. So I just want to go into that a little bit more. What kind of characters I would like to see return, because it could set up, a really good story, tabletop stuff hopefully could get added then, and just bring the rule of cool in my kind of sense back. So let's just jump in, let's get talking, let's just lose ourselves. So I just want to make it clear, when I talk about returning big characters, I'm looking at people like Rebute, I'm looking at people like Mortarion and Magnus, people like Gazskull and Abaddon, who have always really been in the lore. They've been around, they've been doing what they do, and yes, you can argue that Abaddon kind of returned from the Eye of Terror and stuff. Gazskull has always been warring and all that kind of stuff, but I really want to focus on the return of Rebute, when he returned and he completely changed the narrative, the Imperium was kind of reborn in itself, the return of Magnus and all the stuff he did, the return of Mortarion and the Plague Wars, all that kind of stuff. That's what I want to be talking about, these characters. What can we expect in 9th edition? So we're going to jump right into the pool of Primarchs straight away, because of course you expected this. So when it comes to Primarchs, you have a lot of potential when it comes to demonic Primarchs. Really, you can really bring back any demonic Primarch that's still around. Of course, regarding Horus, Curse, they are dead. They should never come back. Same with Sanguinius. Sanguinius is dead. Please don't bring them back, because it'll just completely ruin the story. I know about cloning and all that kind of stuff, but it's just something, the cloning, that doesn't sit right with me, where it's just such a cheap option to bring back a Primarch, even though I love it so much. I loved Clone for those of you who've read some of that kind of stuff. I loved it, but it does cheapen sometimes the actual Primarch character. Now, when it comes to demonic Primarchs, as I mentioned, you can bring any of them back. So if we look at it, we've got Lorgar, we've got Fulgrim, we've got Perturabo, we've got Angron. These are the big boys who can now come back and start ripping apart the Imperium. For me, there's two Primarchs which I definitely think, from the traitor side that is, that are a shoo-in to come back. Probably not both of them in 9th edition, but one of them in 9th edition. One could be Angron. I absolutely adore Angron. I think Angron's story is such a sad tale, when he was picked from his brothers and sisters, when he was about to make his final charge. The Emperor never chose to save any of them. They all got wiped out. He regretted that. He never got to die with those people that he loved, and then that bled into the actual World Eaters. He never embraced the World Eaters. The World Eaters in some essence hated him. They never had that love off their Big Daddy Primarch. They embraced the Nails to get closer to him. That sent them down the eightfold path of Khorne and chaos and everything like that. So to have them come back, I think it would be a fantastic tale, and getting a brand new Primarch Angron model, the potential of that, and seeing that on the tabletop, just that hulking monster of flesh, blood, just demonic, wires, big huge axes, swords, whatever you want to bloody put on him. I think it would be absolutely incredible. But then you also have the option then to follow up that range with World Eater stuff. You can have new berserkers and stuff, and maybe new Khorne units to add to the actual army. So not only are you getting a new Primarch into the actual 9th edition when it comes to the narrative and stuff like that, you also get a brand new World Eater range to follow along with it. But I do think that the Primarch that we'll get before any other Primarch will be Fulgrim. Just going off some of the Psychic Awakening stuff that I've been reading in the past, from the books and stuff, he is massively being hinted at, the Illuminators coming. It would make sense for a narrative standpoint as well if he did come back, because I've always seen Fulgrim as the person that kind of destroyed the Imperium. Yes, you can have the debate of Horus turning against the Emperor and stuff like that. Of course, that caused massive damage, but it was Fulgrim that sliced the neck of Rebute. It was him that put him in the coma. It was him that rid the Imperium of his leadership. Without Rebute's leadership, basically people just were seeking power for their own means, and the Imperium descended into what it is today without his leadership. So bringing him back into the flavour of the narrative of the 9th edition, I think that could add more weight to the story. Maybe set him up to have duels with Rebute one more time. He can taunt him and do all the stuff. Maybe Rebute goes out for some type of revenge revenge against him. And again, just like I mentioned with Angron and the World Eaters, if you bring Fulgrim back, that means you have the option then to bring Slaanesh into the flavour of the models, you know, maybe like a new Lucius the Eternal model, new Noise Marines and stuff like that. You have them options then to bring new 40k models to the board, which of course I think everyone would embrace. In the terms of Loyalist Primarchs, we've had this discussion so many times. Now, when I come to talk about Rogal Dorn, it's always from the fandom level. I love Dorn. I really, really do. He's by far the greatest Primarch. In my opinion, you know, he was the most loyalist of the sons of the Emperor. Always followed what Daddy E did, everything like that. But from a narrative standpoint, from the 9th edition and the story going forward, his return would kind of not make that much sense. I think you can affect the story a lot more if you brought someone back like the Khan, even Vulcan. But I think the main shoe-in really is Lionel Johnson. And the reason I say that is because we actually know where the Lion is. Like when we talk about all the other Primarchs, yes, you can say that Korax is in the warp doing his Batman shenanigans. Yes, Leman Russ is looking for the Tree of Life, aka Isha, you know, something to do with the Eldar and stuff. You can make that argument. Rogal Dorn is fortifying somewhere. Dorn lives, I don't care what you say. Vulcan is just probably just being Vulcan and just doesn't want to get involved because he's just sick of fighting. Jagatai Khan is lost somewhere in the webway, but we actually know where the Lion is sleeping. He's in the rock. He's being watched by the Watchers. So it can be easily implemented like they do some, I don't know, some kind of magic. He wakes up, and when he does wake up, you can have multiple options then for the narrative going forward in for 9th edition. If you remember, back in 8th, when that first launched, one of the big things is that the rock was attacked and Luthor escaped. Now from that, there was apparent rumours of a massive fallen force gathering in legion-sized strength in the north of the Imperium. The bit that's basically like the Wild West now. It's cut off from the Southern Imperium. It's very, very hard to travel. Now, it could make a lot of sense is that Luthor is kind of rallying the falling to him to maybe assault like the Dark Angels or that part of the North to try and make a known little empire again. And, you know, you could say like maybe the Lion wakes up and, you know, he starts getting involved. Maybe he's hunting the fallen with his Dark Angel brethren. But you can also go down the other road that I spoke about plenty of times is that the Lion wakes up and he sees what the Imperium is, and he doesn't really agree of what is going on. Like he sees Gilliman as like the de facto emperor, and we've had that storyline before of the Lion looking down like, why should they lead and not me lead? You know, because the Lion has a certain way with his personality, which I absolutely love. So I think it could bring a lot of tension back into the storyline if he returned as a Loyalist Primarch and he, you know, put his oar into the water and he started to put his views in there, which differ from Gilliman's, which could, you know, add to that feeling of, you know, the story's not going, it's not plain sailing because you have this person here that is causing issues because he doesn't see it as the way that Rebooty sees it. He sees it different and it should be done this type of way. Another character which I would absolutely love to see return in 9th edition, and you can kind of compare this guy to a Primarch. I think he's bigger than a Primarch in certain ways, and that is Valdor. Valdor for me is very, very special. There's something different and there's something secret about Valdor that we don't know of just yet. We do know that the Emperor like marched armies just to get Valdor as a child, just to raise him and to make him what he is today. So if the Emperor's going to put all that resources in there just to get this one person, you know there's something special about him. We know that Valdor didn't die at the Siege of Terror. Valdor disappeared shortly after the siege, along at the same time as Leman Russ disappeared. There's a lot of theories that Valdor and Russ are definitely bro-fisting somewhere and, you know, purging a lot of heretics, maybe searching for the same goal to bring the actual Emperor back. But to see his return into the setting, I think could be a massive statement, not only for the Custodes, because the Custodes have really, really come out recently in the lore. You know, they're actually getting involved in the actual narrative storylines and stuff like that. But to see such an icon, such a character of his level return and to have his views and stuff spoken about, and, you know, the way he sees the Imperium now since he's been gone, will that cause a shake-up? Will he follow Rebooty's orders? Will he just do his own thing? Will that sway some of the Custodes maybe to see the ideals of Valdor to start following him rather to do what they're doing now? Again, there's so many bloody stories that you can go down with this. I think it would be a great character, not only model-wise, because I think his model would be fantastic. I remember when I first saw the Horus Heresy model, I was like, yeah, I really love that. But the more I saw of it, the less I kind of liked it. I thought it was just too busy. I'm sure that's probably the right word to use. So if they brought like a new Valdor model back, you know, I'd be completely sold. I do have a massive collection of Custodes, so seeing that legend return to the tabletop could be fantastic. When it comes to Xenos stuff, I'm kind of out of a pause, really. We've already had the Silent King now. The Silent King is coming back. If the Silent King wasn't coming back, I would mention in this video, bring back the Silent King for such and such regions, but he is coming. And again, I think on his return is kind of like a new age of big people coming back. The only real character I can think of, just at the top of my head as I'm recording this now, is Vect. Vect for the Dark Eldar, and maybe bringing him back in some type of way, maybe him bringing a statement. We've had like the new Abaddon model. I can't see anything really from like kind of generals or anything which could be a big model returning and put it up there. I'm sure you chaps will have some ideas, and I'd love to hear them down in the comment section down below. But my main focus, I think, at the moment is probably Primarchs, because there's so much story you can tell with Primarchs. I know some Xenos players will say, oh, not another Primarchs, that only affects, you know, a certain aspect of the story. It's true, it really does. They'll only really affect the Imperium or Chaos when it comes to it. Of course, you can get traitor Primarchs and Loyalist Primarchs involved in, you know, politics when it comes to the Xenos, but the main focus will probably be narrative-wise, you know, the Imperium versus Chaos. One of the massive things which I want to see more is that we've had like the Great Rift across the galaxy. You know, this has been a massive galaxy-wide consequence of what's happened, but we haven't really saw that much fallout from it. I personally would have thought that we would have seen Chaos getting involved a lot more. They've basically split the Imperium in half. The Imperium's reinforcements have been cut in half, so I kind of want to see like the stages of them trying to take Terra, trying to get to the Emperor, to destroy the Emperor, to finish what they started, because this is probably the best time they can do it, because the Imperium is probably at one of its weakest it's ever been. Yes, they have Rebute leading him and, you know, all that kind of stuff, but seeing like the galaxy split in half, surely that means, you know, Chaos have the advantage right about now. Alright, Chaprunios, I'm going to leave it there. Again, I would love to get your thoughts and feedback on this. I really would. You know, if you have any ideas on like major characters who should return to the setting, and why should they return to the setting, like what kind of narrative can you set up for him, I would love to get some conversations on Xenos characters. Which big Xenos characters could actually return? We've had the Silent King, we've had some of the Eldar stuff. Vect is, again, that's the only thing that really sticks out in my head. Gaz Skull has got a brand new model. What other really Xenos characters could return and shape things up in a big type of way? Right, thanks for coming, thanks for watching the video as always. See you in a bit, have a great day, and bye-bye.